This is our regular meeting of the Southfield City Council being conducted via WebEx on January 25th, 2021. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Banks. Present. Brightwell.
Here.
Haskins.
Here.
Vanderwall.
Present.
Morris.
Present.
Taylor.
Here.
Cruz.
Present.
Madam President, you do have a quorum. We do have the mayor on the line, city administrator, deputy city administrator, and other department heads. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Councilwoman Morris, would you please say the Pledge of Allegiance for us?
Certainly, it's my pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Council, before we start our normal agenda, I just would like to mention that there have been a couple of items that will be pulled from the agenda tonight. One being under the closed session. Item B, the appointment of Lisa Hawkins to the position of Director of Multimedia Operations will be pulled to a date certain of February the 8th, where we will hold a closed session. This is due to some legal counsel recommendations where counsel had questions that we needed to answer further. So we're going to pull this item to have those questions answered. And also, council, under our agenda items for discussion and actions, item C will be pulled, the formation of a diversity and inclusion staff position. That is also being pulled for further discussion and information that council is seeking. So with that being said, we're going to go forward with the agenda. The first is a presentation from our District 17 Oakland County Commissioner, Ms. Yolanda Charles.
Evening, members of council. Let me know you can hear me okay.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to obviously thank City Council President, the Pro Tem, all the elected members on council, the mayor, city clerk, and treasurer. I want to thank you for just a couple of minutes. It is my hope that I can come 4 times a year and make quick little reports to you, and that folks will be able to touch base more frequently on social media and at coffee hours. I want to make sure that I share that I've hit the ground running as the Oakland County Commissioner representing District 17. I understand, Southfield has 2 commissioners, myself and Janet Jackson. I represent the eastern portion from Evergreen on over to Coolidge. And so besides that, I do want to mention that I'm happy to report that I'm on the Finance Committee as well as the majority vice chair for the Economic Development and Infrastructure, which is really, really close and dear to my heart. I'm happy to represent the southern portion of Oakland County in that way. I'm also happy to say that our very own and dear Nancy Quarles will be representing us very well on the Road Commission, which is historic in and of itself, and so kudos to her. And then finally, and in closing, the most important pieces here are about the week's update regarding COVID-19 vaccinations. We were allotted 6,825 doses of the vaccine. The state has moved us back to the Pfizer vaccine. Hospitals in our system have all gotten the same amount that they've been getting over the past few weeks. What we're looking to do is have 5 vaccination locations across the county. Naturally, we have the Oakland County Health here right in Southfield, so eventually that will be up and ready to go. But in the meantime, this coming weekend, and more information will be available, but in Madison Heights, they're looking to do a large vaccination program this weekend, so more information to come from that. So to put it in perspective, like I said, we received about 6,800 doses. We actually had about 180,000 residents in Oakland County fill out the sign-up form. So as you can see, only 6,000 doses is only a drop in the bucket. So we're looking for a more robust way to confirm when people go on the county vaccine line. That website is oaklandcountyvaccine.com. And so when you sign up, you still don't get that confirmation that we're all comfortable with, that eventually will come to our email. We even had some people who were on rotary phones still who needed some assistance in that way. So we're still trying to work out all of those. But I wanted to make sure to share that with you and let you know that it is not lost on us how important it is to get those vaccines to the people. So without further ado, I thank you for the time.
No, we thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time to update us, and we look forward to speaking with you throughout the year. At this time, I'd like to ask Council, maybe they have some questions or something for you. Council, I'm going to open it up to you and see if there's any questions that you might have. Nancy, I'll start with you.
No questions. I'd just like to say congratulations, Commissioner Charles. I'm happy to see you in the position and glad to see you're on the ground running.
Thank you. Dan, Councilman Brightwell?
No questions. I'd like to welcome Commissioner Charles and appreciate your frequent visit as much as you possibly can to update us on things that are going on in the county that we are in. I understand the county plays a big part in the life of Southfield, so I would like to hear from you frequently. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
Yes, same. No actual questions. Just want to thank Ms. Charles for taking the time to address this body this evening.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
Yeah, no questions for me either, but I'll echo what my colleagues have said. I'm very much looking forward to working with you, Commissioner. I hope there's a lot of things that we'll be able to do together, partner on, and I'm looking forward to your many visits to the council.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
Yes, thank you. Again, congratulations to you, Commissioner Charles, and I look forward to your updates and working with you.
And Councilwoman Morris? Oh, Councilwoman Morris must still be on mute.
I'm sorry, I was just talking away. Congratulations again, Commissioner Charles. I'm excited to hear that you're on the Economic Development Committee. That's been a passion of mine here at the city, so I'd love to partner with you on some of the programming that you'll be bringing forth there. I did have a question in regards to the vaccine. Are you guys tracking who's getting which dose? Like if you're getting how many Pfizer versus Moderna? Are you tracking that?
Thank you. So I definitely want to, let's say, let the Department of Health kind of get into the nitty gritty. But what I've been told is that we're only offering Pfizer at this time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We're only offering Pfizer. And I don't think that was a county decision. I think that came from above.
Okay, thank you. And I look forward to your many reports moving forward as well. Thank you so much.
Appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you again. You're welcome anytime. Thank you. Okay, next we have no appointments, so we have minutes. We have one set of minutes, Council.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a question about the minutes before I would make a motion to approve them. But I would like a clarification on an item in the minutes.
Yes, Councilman Brightwell, go right ahead.
Okay. Under the item, when we spoke of the retreat, and reading through the minutes, I would give you the page number, but I can't pull it up on my screen right now. But it was mentioned that I do mention that I would prefer not to meet without everyone be vaccinated. But I did indicate that I would meet remotely, the way we're meeting now for the retreat, but only I would meet in person if everyone was vaccinated. And I think that's clarified in the minutes. So whoever wrote the minutes, if they could find that and perhaps clarify that sentence or two, I would give you the page number. I can't pull it up on my computer right now.
Okay, I'm sure our clerk can identify that. Madam Clerk, would you be able to make the additional information of it, to the minutes?
Yes, we can, per Councilwoman Brightwell's recommendation of the added sentence in his verbiage concerning the retreat, we can add that to the minutes and they can stand as corrected with his additions. Of what
Okay.
was mentioned.
Okay.
Okay,
With that, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the minutes of January 11, 2021 be approved as corrected.
Support, Councilwoman Banks.
thank you. It's been motioned by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Banks for the approval of the Committee of the Whole meetings of January 11th, 2021, with the statement or sentence verbiage correction as stated by Councilman Brightwell. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks.
Yes.
Minutes as presented by Councilman Brightwell have been adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda item. This item was previously discussed at our Committee of the Whole meeting in January, and it should have been on our consent agenda last week, and it was missed. So it's just on here for our approval, Council?
Council President, this is
Yes.
Councilman Mandelbaum. I'd like to move the approval of consent agenda item A.
Is there some? Thank you.
Council Brightwell, support.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilman Brightwell, for the approval of the budget for the Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Hoskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
and Brightwell.
Yes.
Consent agenda item A has been approved.
Thank you. Next, we have our public hearing. Our first item is for the Economic Development Initiative. It's the public hearing to establish on the establishment of Commercial Rehabilitation District under Public Act 210 of 2005, as amended by the Northwestern Highway Service Drive number 5.
Yes.
There was an address that was supposed to be added to that. Shelley, would you please include the address at this time?
Good evening, Madam President, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Board. The city staff has received a request from DDK Acquisitions LLC for the establishment of a commercial rehabilitation district. The district name is Northwestern Highway Service Drive number 5. The location is 23800 Northwestern Highway. It's commonly known as Presidential West. In order to facilitate this request, it's required that we have a public hearing. The owner of the property, Mr. Kleiner, is on the phone and has a short presentation to offer tonight. At the conclusion of the presentation, myself and Mike Radcliffe, the city assessor, are also available for any questions. So I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Kleiner for the short presentation.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kleiner, would you please give us your name and address, business address for the record?
Yeah, Yehuda Kleiner. Am I heard? Can I be heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, and I'd like to thank the council. I'd like to thank the council for taking the time to hear this presentation. My legal name is Yehuda Kleiner. My business address is 24525 Southfield Road, Suite 250, Southfield, Michigan 48075.
The presentation is up, so when you're ready, you can just ask the tech department to advance the slides for you.
Okay. The property address is 23800 Northwestern Highway. If you could please go to the next slide. The property is located on Mount Vernon Street in Southfield, which runs between Southfield Road and Northwestern Highway. The property is located on the corner of Mount Vernon and Northwestern Highway. The building is a two-story, 100,000 square foot office building built in 1978. It was occupied for many years by AT&T until they moved locations right nearby, actually. The building has been vacant and neglected for a number of years and is in desperate need of rehabilitation. The next slide, please. As you can see, there's 3 photos here. One of the front of the building, showing the windows in disrepair and the landscaping in disrepair, as well as the parking lot. The lobby of the building, you can see the flooring has been removed and the walls are missing partially due to a flood that happened recently. And at the rear of the building, you can see the overgrown trees as well. And next slide, please. So there's a need for immediate investment, obviously, with this property. The property is currently vacant. There's been recent water damage by a burst pipe, and there's ongoing damage caused by an old leaky roof. The building attracts people hanging out at night. There's the lack of lighting at night, and it's just a big vacant parking lot, which attracts vandalism. In that area in particular, there's a need to modernize, have a modern space with an attractive amenities for businesses that attract workers. Next slide, please. So to give an overview of the project and what we plan to do, we'd like to reposition the building and make it a vibrant, state-of-the-art, multi-tenant office building. We expect that the project will cost over $2 million to renovate. Some of the renovations will include landscaping, parking lot repair or replacement, exterior lighting, roof repairs, mechanical repairs or replacements, bathroom updates, new flooring, elevator repair updates, lobby renovations, LED lighting, and common area renovations. In addition, we do have a prospective tenant lined up for a portion of the building. Next slide, please. Some of the benefits to the city, while this abatement will be going on, there will still be taxes collected by the city. The land and personal property are not abated, and once this abatement ends, the city will see significant increase in tax capture following the expiration of the abatement, because at that time, obviously, the building will hopefully be, renovated, a lot of tenants and income coming in. The proposed redevelopment will address an economic need in this area of the city. This building is situated on the corner of Mount Vernon and Northwestern, and that area in particular can use a revitalization. Next slide, please. Renovations will attract new company with approximately 200 employees. The projected tenant that we have lined up for this building will have at least 200 employees, if not more. There are 20 jobs due to the rehabilitation because the tenant will be moving some existing jobs over as well. Approximately 15 construction jobs will be created during the rehabilitation process. Next slide, please. And thank you so much for listening to the presentation. I'll turn it over to Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Kleiner, for that overview. Again, Mike Radcliffe and I are available to answer any questions. The first public hearing is to request the establishment of the Commercial Rehabilitation District, which will be the Northwestern Highway Service District number 5. And then if the council should agree to that, then we can move to the next item after.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. I would ask that the public hearing is now open. If there's anyone that wishes to speak to this topic, please raise your hand now so that you can be heard. You will have to state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to comment.
Madam President, I did unmute all of the individuals that are in our attendee list if they want to speak.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak to this topic? Okay, hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. Council, I'll turn to you, and I'll start with you, Councilman Brightwell.
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
I'm really glad to see that something will be happening in that area. It certainly does need some sprucing up, so that's a positive. I would just say moving forward, the question that I just have is when would be the start time, and how long would it take to get to see your vision come true?
We're right now working with insurance on the building, but we're hoping to start in the next 2 to 3 months. And we're probably going to do it in phases. I'm hoping that we can get a first tenant in there in about 6 months. That'd be the goal. But the entire project will take over a year. That's what we're thinking.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I had, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. I don't have any questions. In fact, Councilman Cruz had my question about the timeline.
Okay.
Yep, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
No questions, but I am glad that this corner is getting a well-needed makeover. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
No questions for me. I'm in support of this project, and like my colleagues, I'm happy to see this area getting a sprucing up.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Kleiner. You had indicated that you may have a tenant that will take up approximately 25% of the building.
Yes.
Do you, and I'm assuming this is going to be an office building?
Correct.
Do you think that, so you're still going to have 75% of the building that will need to be, that we will need to find, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll need to find tenants for the other 75% of the building.
Many of these two-story buildings are in big demand right now with the COVID, and people are more apt to want to be able to walk upstairs to get to their floor rather than be in a high-rise. So by offering this new clean space, I think it'll be a real big attractor to many of the tenants that are either newly formed businesses or that are in the area right now.
Okay, because
I did show.
I'm sorry, go on.
I did show the space just last week, for example, to a company that's actually about 8 Mile, on 8 Mile and Southfield Road right now. They're looking for about 35 to 45,000 square feet of space. We did a walkthrough last week, the end of last week, and they're considering it, so we'll see where that goes.
Okay. Like my colleagues, I agree that this building definitely needs improvement on, that corner of our city. However, it just, you drive around the city right now and we have so many empty parking lots with the office buildings. I'm concerned, what's going to happen once this pandemic is over. But that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, do we want to entertain a motion?
This is Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Economic Development Initiative for a commercial rehab district under PA 210 for Northwestern Service Drive. I don't know what the address is.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Thank you.
Support Councilwoman Morris.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilwoman Morris, for the approval of the establishment of the Commercial Rehabilitation District under Public Act 210 of 2005 as amended at the Northwestern Highway Service Drive number 5.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman Cruz.
am I reading them backwards?
Well,
That's item B, but
could IT go back to the first slide, which shows the public hearings at A and B, please? There we go. Thank you.
Does that help you? Does that answer your question, Councilman Cruz?
yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we were trying to get it back to the public hearing part.
No, that's perfectly fine. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
So we have approval for the establishment of the Commercial Rehabilitation District. We can move to our next item, which is the Economic Development Initiative, the application from DDK Acquisitions, LLC, for the Commercial Rehabilitation Exemption Certificate under PA 210 of 2005.
Yes, Madam President, if we could have another public hearing to approve the request by Mr. Kleiner, who is DDK Acquisitions, for their project, which will be placed in the newly formed district. Thank you.
Okay. This being a public hearing, I now declare this public hearing open for the Economic Development Initiative application. Please state your name and address, and you would have 3 minutes to speak on this topic. Madam Clerk, would you please open up the lines?
In fact, we don't even get a lot of the emails that some of the other members get. It's like there's a network of us that we are not on the email list, even though we're members. So we rely on each other to say, did you get this email? Well, did you know about this? Because we're not getting the email.
Madam President,
Excuse me, I think we.
I just muted it. That person, I don't know if they were ready to talk.
Do we have anyone on the call that is for the public hearing for the application from DDK Acquisitions?
I'll unmute again. Yeah. I muted it back.
Okay, so hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. And Council, I will now go over to you. I'll start with you, Councilman Cruz.
No, I'm all set.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me on this. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Mandelbaum?
No questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Morris?
No questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Banks?
No questions, thank you.
Councilman Brightwell?
Rochelle, can you kind of explain to me a little bit of what are we doing here? Exemption certificate. What exemption certificate? What does that mean?
So the PA 210 is a 2-step process, really a 3-step process. The first process is we set up the district, and any property that's within that district is able to request an exemption where they're asking for their personal property to be frozen at a certain level for 5 years. And so that's what we're seeking city council approval for. This part of this process also involves reaching out to the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. They have submitted a letter supporting this project. And then once we have everyone's support, if city council were to approve this, then we submit everything to the state treasurer's office, and then the value of the property will be frozen for 5 years. And again, DDK Acquisitions will continue to pay the existing taxes, which is approximately $18,000 on the property. And when their time limit is up, then it'll be, and the city assessor will be continually evaluating the property. So when that 5 years is up, it'll go up to a new value. So we're looking for, his request is to keep it constant for 5 years.
Okay, I approve. I must have. Okay, good. Yes on this also, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now, council, I need to entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Councilman Mandelbaum. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Economic Development Initiative for the Commercial Rehab Exemption Certificate for DDK Acquisitions.
Support, Councilwoman Morris.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilwoman Morris, for the acceptance of the application for DDK Acquisitions for the Commercial Rehabilitation Exemption Certificate. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Taylor?
Yes.
Did you want to listen to us or no?
Cruz?
It's up to you. I'm
Or
sorry. If you want to listen to
somebody
me.
needs to mute their phone.
Banks?
Yes.
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
And Morris?
Yes.
The Economic Development Initiative for the application for K Acquisitions LLC for a commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate under PA 10 of 2005 as amended has been adopted.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I have a word?
Yes.
This is Mayor Cyber. I just wanted to thank the petitioner. After we last spoke, I did go by the building, and the grounds are much improved. So I appreciate the removal of the jungle that was surrounding the building. The property looks much better. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else on the line want to comment? Okay, hearing none, we will go to our next public hearing. Mr. Crode?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We have a public hearing, PSLU 20-0011, a special use request of Southfield Industrial Park on behalf of the owner, Telegraph Mobile Home Park, for the construction of approximately 125,000 gross square foot storage facility with first floor retail, as well as a standalone retail center and fast food restaurant with drive-through. Property located at 21315 Telegraph Road. If the council recalls, this was discussed at your January 11th study meeting. Next slide. This is the aerial of the property located on Telegraph. It's currently being underutilized. Was previously used as a concrete crushing facility, and there's a small retail strip on a parcel adjacent to Telegraph Road. It's underutilized, underdeveloped. Next slide. Current zoning is industrial, and the future land use is Telegraph Road corridor. Next slide. This is a view from Telegraph Road looking west into the property. You see the small retail center existing, but the majority of the property is actually behind the building from view. Next slide. The proposal is under phase 1 to construct a 4-story mixed-use storage facility. Most of the units will be accessed through an internal drive. There are some exterior units on the first floor on the northwest and south of the building. The property fronting Telegraph Road will have retail on the first floor. Next slide. A future commercial phase 2 would be the approximately 1 acre where the existing shopping center is located. Next slide. And this shows phase 2 close-up of a potential retail redevelopment on the site. Next slide. This is a perspective of the 4-story mixed-use storage facility. You can see the large overhead door is the internal access to the building. Next slide. And this is the overall site plan for phase 1. As the market changes, there may be future phases on the southern portion of the property for light industrial uses. There will be some regulated outdoor storage of RV or campers or what is permitted within the outdoor storage within the district. Next slide. Again, this is a close-up of what phase 1. Their scheduling is to get the new building constructed, then move towards demolishing the existing retail center and then market that for new retail in the future. Next slide. This is the overall rendering when all the phases are complete, exclusive of any potential industrial or light industrial development. Next slide. Again, a close-up of phases 1 and 2. Next slide. And with that, I just want to remind the council that they are actually only making a decision after public hearing on the special land uses, since some of the uses that are being proposed are of a non-manufacturing or industrial use that falls under the category of special land use. With that, I know that Eric Williams, Richie Atchu, and there may be others on the line if they want to make any quick comments before we open up the public hearing. After the public hearing, myself and their consultant team will be happy to answer any questions that the council may have. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Richie Atto on the line. I just wanted to say that I'm available if there's any questions, but Mr. Crode's presentation is thorough, and our plan is to start with the 3-story building as soon as we can get the necessary approvals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did the other gentleman want to speak, Mr. Williams?
Nope, I think that does it. Just here for questions.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so I'd like to open the public hearing up. If there's anyone here that would like to speak to this topic on the special land use, please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Madam Clerk, would you please open the lines?
Yes. And if it's any noise, I'll just mute that line back, okay?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So all of the lines are open, Madam President.
Okay, if there's anyone on the line that would care to speak to this PSLU 20-0011 special land use request, please speak now, raise your hand or speak now.
I wasn't able to hear everything. Can you just refresh my memory? Is this about the vacant building that's near Mount Vernon and Southfield Road?
Terry, would you give an overview for our...
Yeah, sure. This, again, I think that the speaker is referring to the previous public hearing. This is a special land use request of Southfield Industrial Park on behalf of the owner, located at 21315 Telegraph Road, for construction of 125,000 gross square foot storage facility with first floor retail, as well as future standalone retail center and a fast food restaurant with drive-thru.
Oh, okay. I got the public hearings mixed up. Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. For the residents that always want to contact me, and I thoroughly appreciate it for almost 40 years, my telephone number is 248-346-0439. You know, I really want the city to just think about the type of development that we are, or developments, plural, that we're allowing to come to the city. Whenever a petitioner comes and presents a deal, the city says, oh, that's great. We're really doing something for economic development. And a lot of these businesses don't really have a direct impact in terms of helping the people that live in the city. And they get these huge tax breaks. And then what happens a year or two later, council has to pass, or council has to discuss moratoriums and then pass ordinances to stop and put a limit on these businesses. Now, I talked about the saturation of dollar stores, and now you put a moratorium on dollar stores. We talked about the pawn shops and the cash advance places. Now you have a moratorium on that. So are we getting to the point where we are oversaturated on these storage facilities? How many do we need? When we don't have that many people working, or people that are working less due to the pandemic, do we really need another storage facility in the city of Southfield? I think before you do it, you should do a little bit more research and try to crunch the numbers. But if you're just doing it to show that there's economic development in Southfield, then you're probably going to vote on it anyway. So I just want to know which council people have ink in their rubber stamp to just say yes. Because if you do, then I won't say anything else, but I will remind you when you do a moratorium on storage facilities. I will remind you. Thank you so much. And I
Thank you.
To my time.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this public hearing? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Crode?
Yes, I just again for council's edification, the storage facility is permitted by right in industrial districts. So you're not actually voting on the storage facility as you are on the other uses that are non-manufacturing. And I have reviewed several marketing studies that do support the need for additional storage facilities. I think council's hesitation in the past was the location of proposed storage facilities. But this is the appropriate zoning for these storage facilities. They offer a cheaper per square footage rental space than high-end office, and also with people downsizing in their homes, there's a greater need for storage facilities. And I believe the last time I looked at marketing study, it was about a 50-50 split between business and residential uses. So this is an appropriate location for the zoning, but council is actually granting a special land use for the other proposed uses on the site. And the only other thing I will add is either Rich or Eric, if you could just talk about the hours of operation, I think that's important as far as the special land use goes. And then we'll be happy to answer any other questions the council may have. Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that in addition to the storage, there are retail uses which will accommodate possibly some of the existing tenants or other tenants that want to locate on Telegraph Road, and that maybe they might even be associated to the storage, for example, shipping places. Also, there are plans to be some office space, and it's not strictly 100% storage. And we have submitted hours. I'm not sure, Terry, if those are actually documented, but I believe we stated that there was Monday through Saturday hours and then less hours on Sunday.
So if I could, through the chair, the hours of operation as recommended and discussed at the Planning Commission, and it is in your resolution packet, is Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That would be the normal operations for the business. Emergency provisions would be made on a case-by-case basis. Usually these have a caretaker that resides in an apartment to provide security. In limited or emergency capacity, a individual could contact them to get access. But the normal hours of operation, again, are Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to council at this time, and I'll start with you, Councilman Hoskins.
Madam President, before that, can we formally close out this public hearing?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the reminder. The public hearing for PSLU 20-011 special land use is formally closed. And with that, I'll turn it over to council, and I'll start with you, Councilman Hoskins.
No questions for me on this. Thank you.
Councilman Mandelbaum?
No questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Morris?
Yes, thank you. You said the hours were 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.? 11 p.m. seems a little late for a storage facility. Is that common or normal in this industry, Terry?
I'm going to defer to the applicant, but that is not unreasonable time, especially with the different shift workers that we have in the area.
Mm-hmm.
But we did want to put a cap on it so that people weren't going there at 1 in the morning, for example. So, Mr. Atu, would you want to respond to the hours of operation? Councilman Morris, please.
Yes. Again, it's just so that we have the right to allow people to go in there, because some of the businesses, especially if they're, they might even be office tenants, and normally there's not restrictions on office hours, but if somebody's working late and they needed to have access to the product, sometimes people come in and load things for the morning. And will there be a lot of people going in and out of there from 9 to 11? Probably not, but we just didn't want to have cases where people need access and be in violation of our approvals. So
Okay.
The average person may not choose to visit at those hours, but we just wanted to have the right to make sure that if people do come and go, if in a non-emergency situation, that we're following the regulations and our approved hours and not violating or having to ask for variances on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Next, we have Councilwoman Banks.
Thank you. I have no questions, and I agree with the hours. I know there have been times we have been in some of the storage facilities late at night for various reasons. So I think the hours are fine, and usually late at night there's not that many people there, but it's a great time to organize some of your units if you have some. Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
Terry, this question about hours just made me think about my days on site plan. Was this covered by the Crime Prevention Bureau?
Well, they get copies of all of our reviews to weigh in on. And again, tonight we're only really here discussing uses, but there will be the administrative site plan review portion, which they definitely will be able to weigh in on. The other thing I just will mention is that this is not adjacent to any residential areas, and there's quite a distance to the west of a buffer before it is adjacent to the Bridge Street Industrial Park. So I'm not concerned about noise per se. We still are governed by our noise ordinance, should there be a concern. But the Crime Prevention Bureau will definitely be able to weigh in on the site plan details.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Cruz?
Yes, thank you. 2 questions real quick. One was coming off of Telegraph, is that frontage is there like green space on the front and then you pull into the lot? Is that the way that I was looking at that?
There's two means of ingress and egress, one to the north and one to the south. And then you would drive to the rear of the property. It will be gated to prevent people from entering the outside storage area. I believe the gates, we talked about the security gates happening somewhere in the rear portion of the property to provide limited access, and people who are using this facility will have a code to enter the building. The gray space in the front is for future developments where the existing retail is located, which will be torn down, and new development based on market demand would happen in the front. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. After phase 2, what that frontage would look like. Was it going to be trees and stuff in front, bushes?
Well, yeah. To your point, we're not at that where we have renderings for phase 1, but if you think about a freestanding drive-through, whether it's a coffee shop or a fast food, and then a 3 or 4 unit retail development that's 1.5 stories high, but all the parking along the frontage on Telegraph is required to have that 30-inch evergreen hedge with some trees. So there will be a landscaping buffer that will need to be installed along the frontage, even under phase 1.
Okay, good. And the only other question was, is there any possibility to get something other than fast food, eateries in this location? Is that the only thing that fits this type of location, or could we potentially have some place where people could dine in a little bit, maybe a Coney Island or something like that?
I'll refer to Richie, but it's really going to be driven by the market, and there's no prohibition to having a Coney Island or a sit-down restaurant. You're just approving potential uses, including restaurants and retail. And Richie, I don't know if you want to.
Well, just to say that we would invite an operator that would like to have some dining in, but it seems that after this pandemic, the places who don't even have drive-throughs that were 100% dine in. For example, I believe there's a Kirby's on Telegraph that has now decided that they need some drive-through. So we would love to have an operator that has dine-in service, but I have a feeling that the future is they're going to need some kind of a drive-through for pickups. And even the new Arby's that went in on Greenfield and 9 Mile that we worked on together with Terry, they have a nice dine-in area, but they haven't been able to use it, for all these months. And luckily they have the drive-through, because without the drive-through, they'd be, in hard times. But when the pandemic is over, the dining room is a big part of their operation, and it's enjoyed by many people in the area. So we'd love to have something like that.
Okay. Fair enough.
The market will support it.
No, that's fair enough. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Terry, did you want to read the resolution?
Yes, I can do that. It is in the packet. I will basically just read the main points. That the special land use is approved subject to administrative site plan review by the city planner. The submitted special use with any conditions recommended by the planning department, planning commission, will be of such size and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the I-1 industrial district. The location, size, intensity, and periods of operation of the proposed use is designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate there from which might be adverse to occupants of any nearby permitted uses. That the proposed use is in accord with the spirit of the zoning ordinance and sound planning principles. Proposed use is in character with vehicle traffic generated, not to have an adverse effect. Proposed use and intensity will be arranged to eliminate any adverse effects, noise, dust, dirt, glare, odor, fumes. Proposed use will not be adverse to the promotion of health, safety, and welfare. Proposed use will be operated to provide security and safety to employees and the general public, and that the hours of operation shall be as follows: 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays.
Okay, thank you. Council, we can entertain a motion.
Banks, I move that we approve PSL U20-0011, special use request of Southfield Industrial Park on behalf of the owner, Telegraph Mobile Park Home, for the construction of a 125,876 gross square foot storage facility with first floor retail and standalone retail center and fast food restaurants with drive-through.
Support.
Okay, it's been motioned by Councilwoman Banks, second by Councilman Brightwell, for the acceptance of the special land use request of the Southfield Industrial Park. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
PSLU 20-0011, special use request of Southfield Industrial Park, and etc. has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
And Richie, you could just follow up with our office on the site plan issues. Thank you.
I want to apologize because something that I didn't think of. I hope it's not out of order, but the hours of operation that are stipulated are for the operation of the storage facility. I was wondering if that applies to normal retail tenants that may have slightly different hours. Sorry, I didn't think of that earlier.
Yeah, so through the chair, you're covered by these blanket hours. If you have a user that specifically needs additional hours of operation, you would have to come back for special land use to expand those hours of operation. But
Okay.
Until you know what's going to go there, these are the hours that are the umbrella for the development until there's a need to go otherwise, and then there's the process of getting a special land use extension of the hours of operation.
Understood. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, we can move into the next public hearing for PZR 20-0005, which is the rezoning request of Ari Liebowitz for 29355 Northwestern Highway LLC to the rezoning of the 5.094 acres of land from R2 single family residential and P vehicular parking to B3 general business and P vehicular parking. Mr. Crowe.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. There's no need for me to repeat that great introduction, but the aerial shows the property is actually fronting on Northwestern Highway, and the rear of the property is adjacent, if the council remembers, to the property that was rezoned from residential to B3 for the iGolf. And the applicant is looking to be forward-thinking and rezone the rear portion of his property to attract future office or business uses. Next slide. Again, this is a close-up of the property. Shows parking in the rear, and then there was a woodlands buffer when the property to the west and to the south was zoned residential. Next slide. And the future land use does support retail business planning and zoning. Next slide. The current property has B3 frontage on Northwestern Highway with all the adjacent parcels. If you can see, there's about a 50-foot parking buffer on most of the properties adjacent to residential. The applicant has a double wide, probably 60 plus feet of vehicular parking. And then the R2 is located on the southern portion of this parcel, was what was left over from all the iGolf property being zoned R2 at one point. Next slide. The applicant is proposing B3 for the remaining portion of the rear of his property. We've negotiated with the applicant for a 50-foot parking buffer adjacent to the residential townhomes, be consistent with other vehicular parking buffer. You can use that for parking. You just can't build his new structure, office, business immediately adjacent to the residential. And he's agreed to that. Next slide. So with that, Mr. Leibowitz, turn it over to you to make a few comments before we go to a public hearing, and then you and I can answer any questions that the council may have after the public hearing has been closed. Thank you. So, Mr. Leibowitz, you have to unmute.
I'm trying to unmute. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, basically, I'm here to answer any question any members of the council might have. Otherwise, I don't have any comments.
Okay, thank you. This is now a public hearing. I'd like to open the public hearing for PZR 20-0005, the rezoning request of Ari Leibowitz for the 29355 Northwestern Highway LLC for rezoning. If there's anyone on the line that would like to speak to this topic, please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Madam Clerk, would you please open the lines?
The lines have been open, Madam President.
Thank you.
Pamela Gerald, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
The audio for you guys is going in and out. I don't know what's wrong, and I guess I made a mistake, and I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I'm trying to do the computer and the phone because the audio just keeps going out, and I can see what's on the screen, but I'm not hearing everything. So can someone just refresh my memory about the location? I know it's on Northwestern Highway, what type of business this is. I'm trying to follow it, and I'm not really working the equipment too well.
Okay. Terry, I'll ask you to...
Yeah, Mr. Leibowitz, could you just remind the council and the public that I believe you have a Comerica Bank fronting on Northwestern and an office complex, and forgive me, I don't recall the name of that. And then on the rear of the property is just parking and a woodlot that was a previous buffer.
That's correct.
What is the name of your office complex, Mr. Leibowitz?
The Carson Office Center.
Okay, thank you.
We recently built a new Comerica branch in the front. We don't have any particular plans to redevelop the remainder of the property. The point of the rezoning is to keep it consistent with what the surrounding area is, being that the residual property was zoned residential at one time to be consistent with all of the surrounding residential area. That has been changed from residential to commercial, and we felt it would make sense for us to come in front of the city and request that the residual parcel be rezoned from residential to commercial, and we agreed to create the 50-foot buffer next to the condominium to the east.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let me know when you want me to begin, Madam Chair.
Okay, go right ahead. You can start now.
Okay, Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. I met Mr. Ari Leibowitz several years ago, probably over 30 years ago, and I was introduced to him by Mr. Lance. And I know he's done some amazing things in the city of Southfield. My concern is the council approving a zoning when the development or the projects have not been clearly defined. You know that once you go into, if I heard Mr. Leibowitz correctly, a B3 zoning, there's so many things that are encompassed under that B3 zoning. Wouldn't it be a better idea when the development stage of that particular piece on that parcel is up for development? At that time, he could come in and more specifically ask for zoning that would fit that particular development. And if I'm wrong about that, I definitely stand to be corrected. And I want to know if he knows, and maybe he doesn't know, what types of businesses are you targeting for future development for your particular area? We just need to be careful doing these B3s, and especially near residential areas. We had a similar situation, if council remembers, a few years ago with Walmart in a residential area, and the ramifications for that B3 zoning had it went through. So we just need to be more mindful of B3 when it's that close to a residential area. And putting up shrubs or arborvitae is not necessarily a buffer. You know, I think more appropriately, concrete post and panel walls act as better sound buffers because they use that on the expressway. So we just have to be more careful and not be so quick to do a B3 zoning when there's so many things that can be done. And the city isn't really tight in terms of the comeback to council when you decide what you want to do for that development after the fact. So I just want to know if Mr. Ari could speak to that. And I'm not against you or your project. I would just like to impress upon you to wait until you know what development is going there and then come back and request a rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak to this topic?
Did you want to speak? Okay.
Okay, hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. And I will now go to council. I'll start with you, Mr. Mandelbaum.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
No questions, thank you.
Councilman Brightwell?
No questions.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
I'm in support.
Thank you. And Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we want to entertain a motion?
This is Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve PZR 20-0005.
Support.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilman Brightwell, for the approval of PZR 20-0005, the rezoning request of Ari Leibowitz. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
Okay, PZR 20-005 rezoning request has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, I'd ask you to entertain a motion to introduce ordinance number 1732.
Madam President,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz, I'd like to move that we introduce ordinance number 1732.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilman Mandelbaum for the introduction of ordinance number 1732. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Haskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell.
Yes.
Introduction of ordinance number 1732 adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are no site plans this evening. After you've entertained questions and comments from the council on consent item A, I would like to make a brief comment on that item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we move to our agenda items for discussion and/or action. Our first item is the proposed lease of the Simmons House, 26022 Berg Road.
Good evening, Council President.
Good evening.
The Simmons House has sat empty since 2016 when Human Services was moved to the Percassi campus. And we recently contracted with Farbman to attempt to identify a leasing party. Congresswoman Lawrence is interested in leasing the first floor of the building as her primary Metro Detroit office. The lease payment or cost has been identified as $900 for leasing just the first floor. Part of the problem with leasing this house out is that it is a house and it is not conducive to a lot of business needs, but all parties are in agreement this is a fair price, comes out to $12 a square foot per year. In addition to the lease, the Congresswoman will be paying for an improvement she requested. That was the painting of the first floor and stairway. That will be prorated into the lease. Also, should she decide she would like city employees or the office decide they would like city employees to clean, that would be included at cost as well. In addition to the revenue, having the Congresswoman's office in the city obviously benefits the residents and businesses in the city, and it's always better to have a building occupied than sitting empty. By leasing the first floor, we will be liable for tax payments of $1,840 a year, but a little over $767 will actually be coming back to the city. So pretty much just a loss of $1,000 a year for property taxes. Since we're not leasing the second floor or the basement, we're not liable for that. If this is approved, the move-in could be as soon as February.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll now ask council if they have any questions, and I'll start with you, Councilwoman Morris.
I knew you were going to start with me. All righty. I think this is a great idea. I just had a couple questions. Just, John, what is the actual square footage?
The square footage of the house is a little under 5,000 square feet.
No, that she's actually leasing.
It is, I had it here, about, well, it's 1/3 of 5,000, so 1,700, maybe a little less. I can do the math.
In your comment, you said that Congresswoman would also be willing to pay for any improvements. Did I hear you correct?
Yes, and the only improvement she requested was painting the first floor. The walls were green and we painted them a beige color. So that will be added to the lease and prorated.
So I guess the other question that I had was if we as a city have any other plans to do any other upgrades to the Simmons House in the next 23 months that she will be there.
We will be doing some improvements simply because the house needs some improvements, especially to the outside, perhaps painting and repairing some of the railings on these steps, front porch area. And she will be leasing 1,660 square feet.
Okay. Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Morris. Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. John, you said that, I'm sorry, we would be in the negative of $1,000. Could you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry, I couldn't catch that.
I thought you said that we would be in the negative with taxes of $1,000. I wasn't quite sure if I understood what you said. Could you please repeat that portion of your presentation?
Certainly. Well, of course, the lease is a net positive, but we are responsible for property taxes once we lease out city-owned property for profit. So in this instance, I believe the property taxes for a year would be about $1,840, but of that, $767 would be coming back to us as property taxes. So the real property tax cost for us is a little over $1,000 per year. I'm sorry?
Why is $767 coming back to, I'm confused.
Well,
why is $767 coming back when she's paying $900 a month?
Actually, the property tax is a separate issue entirely. I just wanted to give a complete financial picture. When we own property that we do not lease out for profit, we do not pay property taxes, of course. Once we do that, whatever we lease out is liable for property taxes. In this instance, it is just the first floor of the home, and the total bill for the first floor of the home would be $1,840 per year. But remember, we are a taxing entity. So for that reason, of that $1,840, $767 comes back to us, leaving us a tax liability of a little over $1,000.
Okay, so then she will be paying approximately $10,800 a year, and then we will be paying $1,000 for property taxes?
Roughly, yes.
Give or take?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then will we still be able to utilize the grounds around the building and have our Wednesday concerts once this pandemic is no longer around, and the planting of the flowers, and will people be able to go there and take pictures outside during the day?
Absolutely. This has no impact on the use of the park. And in fact, the park-like setting was one of the inducements to rent this. So no, this has no effect on the outside. Now, we will not be using the basement or the second floor of the building, which we haven't been using, simply for security purposes, but has no effect on the outside grounds.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
I like this idea. I've been involved with this, not this particular project, but deal with the Simmons House, trying to get it leased. So I like this idea. And I just having traffic over there, human traffic, people moving around will be invigorating to that area. So I'm 100% supportive of this, and so no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
Yes, I think everybody's kind of got to where I was going. A couple things I had. John, just want to be clear. So what you're saying is that there would not be any other tenants ever, pretty much there after this year if Congresswoman Lawrence chooses someplace else or leaves, or while she's there, there'll be nobody else there.
Right. There's no plans to rent out the second floor. I mean, I suppose if she came to us with some other tenant that would be compatible with her office, we could talk about it, but I don't anticipate that happening for the 2 years of the lease.
Okay. And I'm just assuming, and I'm not sure because I'm trying to go off of memory, but there's a ramp to get in there, i.e. meaning it's ADA compliant already.
I believe it is. I'm trying to picture it myself, and I'm sorry, I just don't remember if there's steps in front or a ramp.
There is, John, there is a ramp. There's that stone paver ramp, and the restroom on the first floor is ADA. accessible. When our humans department was in there, that building went through a pretty extensive renovation, 09, 010. The challenge on the structure, as John has indicated, there's no ADA accessibility on the lower level and the upper level. And then you're also constrained that the original structure is a timber frame building, i.e. none of the interior walls can be reconfigured. So the building has structural challenges, but the restroom and the first floor are fully accessible. ADA, in ADA compliance in 2010.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. I think everybody kind of touched on everything that I wanted to know. So no further questions for me.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
No, all my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so are we looking to take a vote on this tonight, Council?
Madam Chair,
John? Yes.
this is Planner Crode.
Yes, I'm sorry, you did want to make a comment.
Yeah, I just want to remind the council that last September, you amended the ordinance to allow for general office and not-for-profit office uses in residential area that's are owned by the city, but that does require special land use approval. The administration is anticipating submitting an application this week. We will be able to get it on the Planning Commission in February and back to council in March. So issues like based on the approximate amount of square footage that's going to be leased will require 5 parking spaces to be designated for the office use. And we will also be reviewing barrier-free issues and other compliance. So I just wanted to mention that this lease agreement, should you act on it tonight, should have a clause that it's consistent with the city's zoning ordinance. But we are prepared to move this as quickly as feasible through our process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. John, are you looking for us to vote on this tonight?
We are hoping to receive approval tonight, yes.
Okay, Council, may I entertain a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the proposed lease of the Simmons House located at 26022 Berg Road.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilman Cruz for the approval of the proposed lease of the Simmons House at 26022 Berg Road that is consistent with the zoning of the city. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Banks?
Yes.
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
And Cruz?
Yes.
Proposed lease of Simmons House 26022 Berg Road has been approved.
Thank you. Next, we have the yearly adoption of the poverty exemption guidelines under MCL 211.7U.
Yes, good evening, Council President Taylor. This is Mike Rackoff, City Assessor. This item outlines, hello all. This item outlines all the guidelines for granting poverty tax exemptions. The State Tax Commission requires that all local units by council resolution use the yearly poverty income guidelines set forth by the Federal Department of Health and Human Services as approved by the State Tax Commission. These income levels are updated yearly, and the City of Southfield City Council took one step further back in 2003 by adding an additional 20% to the income levels to better assist those who are struggling on fixed incomes or those whom that are just maybe underemployed. As part of the guidelines, Southfield has been granting partial exemptions for many decades, whereby seniors over the age of 62 are granted reductions down to 10% of their income, and non-seniors 85% of their income. This year, however, on December 22nd, 4 weeks ago, the governor signed PA 253 into law, which requires elected officials to pass a resolution by February 15th requiring assessors and the Board of Reviews to grant 100% exemptions, 50% exemptions, or 25% exemptions. City Council in the past felt that unless there were some extreme circumstances, all poverty applicants should contribute something towards community services. However, with the new legislation, it is virtually all or nothing, because the 50% or the 25% taxable reduction for someone who has difficulty paying taxes, this is absolutely no help to them. So it would be all or nothing at 100% exemptions. Following a pushback by assessors around the state tax commission held a special meeting last Tuesday approving a form for assessors to use to request a percentage other than the 100, the 50, or the 25%. This official form became available this past Thursday. So I am requesting City Council by resolution to approve the City of Southfield Board of Review to use a 90% reduction of taxable value for senior citizens on fixed income or disabled, and 70% for non-seniors. These percentages do allow for greater reductions for both seniors and non-seniors than we were doing in the past. Should the State Tax Commission not grant my request for both the 90% and the 70% reduction, I will come back to City Council for further direction. But at this time, I really don't see a problem that my request before the Commission will not be approved. There are a few other changes within the policy that is up for the resolution. There are new guidelines in regards to the applicants, the senior citizens, those that are on fixed income or disabled, where as opposed to having them come in every year and filing a new application, that an extension up to 3 years be granted provided they were approved for their poverty in 2019 or 2020, for which the board and myself are in favor of. In addition, there's also a requirement that we have an asset test for those applicants applying for poverty, and in the past, it's been for the past decades, it's been $30,000, and we're requesting that we bump it up to $35,000, which excludes the value of their home and 2 vehicles. So that's what I have before you today. I realize that it's an approval. Subject to the approval, if you do agree that the 10% and the 70% are acceptable, that you would grant this approval for the resolution, subject to STC approval.
Okay, thank you. I will now entertain questions from council, and I will start with you, Councilwoman Banks.
No questions, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilman Brightwell.
No, Mike, I walked out briefly. I had to step away. What happened to the veterans? Is that still part of this?
Yes, but no, it's not part of this, but on the last page of the document that I provided gives you an update in regards to the veterans.
Right.
Right now, we have 156 disabled veterans in the city of Southfield that are 100% exempt. And that equates to, we have 162 veterans. That equates to $9,447,000,000 worth of taxable value. That is currently exempt. It equates to about $256,000 worth of city revenue. Unfortunately, that was an unfunded mandate. That's a loss in revenue that the city just has to absorb at this time.
Sure. Okay. Thanks. Otherwise, I have no additional questions. Thank you, Mike.
Sure.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
No questions.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum
No questions, thank you.
and Councilwoman Morris.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Council, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve these procedural changes as prescribed by the State Tax Commission and our assessor, who is recommending a 90% reduction for seniors, a 70% reduction for non-seniors of taxable income, and adopting the yearly poverty exemption guidelines under MCL 211.7U.
Support.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Councilwoman Morris, supported by Councilman Cruz, for the acceptance of the yearly adoption of the poverty exemption guidelines under MCL 211.7U. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Brightwell,
Yes.
Haskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks.
Yes.
Yearly adoption of the poverty exemption guidelines under MCL 211.7U has been adopted.
Okay.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Our next item is the request for approval of contractual services agreement.
Good evening, Madam President. This is James Meadows from Human Resources.
Good evening.
The Human Resources Department is requesting approval for a contract for HR services. The council has discussed this matter on 2 prior occasions. This is a 1-year contract for an independent contractor to assist the city's HR department in the following areas: the upcoming wage and comp study, evaluating older PDQs, updating ACS rules, and Act 78 rules. The last meeting that the council reviewed this item, it asked for 1 change, and that was a change to the language on page 1 that stated the contract had to come back to council if it was going to be renewed. We've added that language, and it's in under section 2 agreement item 3, and it's been bolded. We'd asked that council, with the changes as requested, now approve this item.
Okay, thank you. I will go to council and we can ask any questions of Mr. Meadows. And I'll start with you, Councilman Brightwell. Any questions for Mr. Meadows regarding this approval of contractual services?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
Yes, I have no questions either.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Councilman Mandelbaum?
No questions, thank you.
Councilwoman Morris?
No questions, thank you.
And Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. In the resolution, can we just add in the first paragraph that this is for 1 year? Nowhere in the resolution does it indicate 1 year. Say effective February 1st, 2021 for 1 year.
Yes.
So we'll amend that to add for a 1 year only.
Thank you.
Okay, no other questions? Okay, council, then I'd like to entertain a motion.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to ask that we support the request for approval for contractual services agreement for our Human Resources Department as requested by its director.
Support.
Thank you. It's been motion by Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilman Brightwell, for us to approve the approval of the contractual services agreement as presented by our HR director.
With the change of Ms. Banks, or the addition of Ms. Banks' statement to clarify the 1 year. I'm sorry.
Correct. With the statement added for the 1 year. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Haskins, Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell.
Yes.
Request for approval of contracted services agreement adopted with the added language by Councilwoman Banks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Mhm. Did anyone else on the call want to comment or have any questions? Mayor or anyone? Okay, hearing none, we're at our communications. And I would ask that Madam Clerk would open the lines for anyone that would like to speak at this time.
Madam President, I am opening the lines right now.
Okay, thank you.
They're open.
Is there anyone on the line that would like to speak tonight?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Gerard Mullen, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. Madam President, tonight I wish to talk about Section 11.18. 11.18 in the Southfield City Charter. Section 11.18 is entitled Amendments, which describes how this council may, if it wishes, amend the Southfield City Charter in one easy step. Sad to say, this one easy step conflicts with the not so easy two-step Michigan state law, known as the Michigan Home Rule Act of 1909, thus making Section 11.18 null and void. 11.18 became null and void way back in 1958 when the Southfield Founding Fathers attempted to adapt the Michigan Home Rule Act into the initial Southfield City Charter. That's when the 9-member City Charter Commission mistakenly deleted the second step in a two-step process. State law mandates yesterday and today that it takes two mandatory steps to amend the Southfield City Charter. State mandatory step number 1. The Southfield City Council, that's you folks, must first of all pass a proposed charter amendment. And then the next step, state mandatory step number 2. The Southfield voters, that's us folks, must pass by ballot election council's proposed charter amendment. Unfortunately, 11.18 totally deletes state mandatory step number 2, the ballot election. In a word, after 63 years, it is about time that you folks here on this city council wake up and do yourself a felicitous favor and fix Section 11.18. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Yes. Thank you, my love. Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Hi. Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. Madam Chair, I'm a bit confused about the manner in which this agenda is being discussed. I think public hearings came before the consent agenda. And if I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected. And in all the years that I've been coming to council meetings, which is almost 40 years, consent agenda items always went first. If we're going to reconstruct the agenda based on who's on it and which petitioners, to keep or prevent them from having to wait their turn to speak? I think the consideration, and you can make that decision and make that change, you should move communications up. I think it's a sin before our Heavenly Father that we have to sit at the table, sit at the computer, and wait all night to speak, listening to some of the council people that obviously didn't read the material. I don't know if they're still getting physical packets, and they're using this time to ask a lot of questions because they don't really know the material. So if you did, in fact, move the public hearings up for whatever reason to accommodate whomever, I think that you should make an executive decision and put public comments ahead of the consent agenda. And you can do it. I'm getting concerned about all of these one-year contracts, all of these different positions that's being added when we have a human resource department with a man that you guys hired because he was proficient in all these things. Now, have we gotten to the point where people in these departments can only do one thing? Because I can remember for a series of 8 years or so, we had employees that's been here that paid their dues with the city of Southfield, and they were doing 2 or 3 jobs, and they were not getting compensated for all the jobs that they were doing. Diversity and inclusion staff position, why can't the human resource do it? Why can't the HR consultant do it? We just hired Dr. Maria Calhoun. Why can't she do it? She's qualified to do it. And maybe you should think about getting some volunteers that you don't have to pay benefits for to do these little kinds of things. I want you to put communications at the top of the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Madam Attorney, did you want to address
Mr. Mullins' comments about section 11.18?
Yes.
Process? Yes, Madam President, I'm sorry. If Mr. Mullins would go to the Michigan Municipal League, that is a great resource that would tell him more about the concerns that he has in terms of charter amendments. When the council decides, or even someone in public has a petition that they prepare for a charter amendment, we comply with the Home Rule City Act, which requires, if it's the council, 3/5 vote for a resolution, and then that's eventually submitted to the public on the ballot for voting, or if it's a petition, the same thing happens. So I strongly suggest that if he would either go to the Michigan Municipal League website, they have a lot of information that really breaks down the Home Rule City Act as it applies to charter amendments, or if he just goes to the Michigan Legislature website under the Home Rule City Act, and it's very easy to use, and look at section 21 of the Home Rule City Act, you'll see that since the charter was written, we've always had to comply with the Home Rule City Act as stated in section 11.18. So I hope he does have some time to go to the Michigan Municipal League website.
Thank you very much. Okay, council, we're under the council comment section. Ms. Banks?
Thank you very much. I would like to remind the public to please continue to wear a mask. Please continue to wash your hands. While it looks like the numbers are declining in Michigan, I've been watching them daily, and they are still increasing in all of our zip codes in Southfield, which is a little disheartening. Also, please remember to try and register yourself on my chart with whatever hospital your doctor is affiliated with in order for you to be eligible to receive the vaccine. Also, you can register at the Oakland County website, Save My Spot, and then also at Myers. And then it may be a good idea also to contact CVS and Walgreens to see, you know, when they might be administering the shot in the area. And just a question to the city administrator, something to think about, and I'm not looking for an answer right now, and I don't know how council feels, but is there a way that we can put some volunteer people together and have a call-in number where people who really don't understand how to register, we can help and assist them? There's just a lot of people out there, seniors who still, believe it or not, have rotary phones. They don't have computers. They can't seem to find a phone number to contact someone, and they're besides themselves. And I've been working with a lot of people trying to help them get registered. And I just thought maybe it would be a good service to provide to the residents that if you're having problem registering, we can help you. And I'd be the first one to help volunteer to assist in helping people get registered on some of these various sites. So just something to think about. I'm not looking for an answer tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
I'd like to second, since I'm a big health and safety proponent, I'd like to just second Mrs. Banks' comments on health and safety just previously. And as far as my veterans, I'd like for all my veterans to realize that the VA is now issuing the COVID Pfizer vaccine. So reach out to your primary care health individual at your VA hospital to get registered for the vaccine. Those are my comments. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
No, I have nothing for this evening. Just hope that everyone just stays warm and stays safe.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
I'll just echo what Councilwoman Banks said about all the resources that are available for receiving the vaccine, and please, everyone, stay safe. Make sure you wear your mask and you wash your hands, and if you can, stay in as much as possible. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
I have nothing to add other than what Councilman Hoskins and Councilwoman Banks said. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
Thank you. Yes, I echo Councilwoman Banks' comments. I think she presented a great idea. My dad got vaccinated today, and I just think it's very important for us to continue to promote and educate our community on the importance of being vaccinated. As leaders, we too need to be an example for those people who still may have, some concerns or fear about the vaccine. So just let us continue to hope and pray that we our state receives additional vaccines so we can not only continue to vaccinate people, but the people who've already received their first dose will properly and timely get their second dose. And those are my comments tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. In addition to what's already been said, I'd like to also send out condolences to the Hawkins family for the loss of the grandparent. One of Jaquan Hawkins lost his grandmother, and he has our deepest sympathy and our deepest condolences. So we'd like to send that out to the Hawkins family for your loss. Thank you. And in addition, that concludes it for me. Next, we have the mayor. Mr. Mayor, would you have any comments for us tonight?
Just to, again, follow up on the comments about the pandemic. Ms. Banks is quite correct. while statewide numbers are going down, since the beginning of the month, Southfield has reported 256 additional COVID-19 cases. We now have, since the pandemic began, we now have 3,625 cases and 264 deaths. As far as the vaccine goes, I've had a number of people call the mayor's office. The city of Southfield is really at the mercy of Oakland County when it comes to the vaccines. We've tried to aid the process by offering space in our lower level garage for vaccinations. However, for the time being, they have been suspended due to lack of vaccine. We all are hoping that the Biden administration will speed up the distribution. But for the time being, we as the city really don't have any control over the distribution and the availability of the vaccines. Those are my comments for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Administration?
Madam President, I'd like to just remind council that the current orders from the state expire on February 1st. We are moving forward to extending that in Southfield till February 16th. Working our way through various issues with the library board and the decisions they may make. Continue to provide drive-through service there. Our biggest challenge, frankly, for that council should be aware of will be tax collection. The administration is working with the treasurer's office to ensure that our residents will have a way to pay their taxes. Most of that's been able to happen electronically. We'll continue to operate the city in the virtual sense. I want to comment our workforce, the city's number of employees, we're consistent with 3 to 6 employees every day being impacted by COVID. That they can be out waiting for results under quarantine. It is interesting. The numbers are climbing in Southfield. Our fire department, has the number of deaths that they've dealt with. The last 10 days, it's been 18. We continue to do our COVID calls on Mondays and Thursdays, and the numbers are still very concerning. As the mayor indicated, we are working with Oakland County in the lower level. Tuesday and Saturdays are the vaccine dates. You have to be registered and in one of the eligible groups. We are doing testing by appointment on Wednesdays. Oakland County is looking at the pavilion. We previously showed the pavilion to Providence Hospital. They unfortunately were not able to get enough doses to support opening a second vaccine site. So we will continue to work our way through. I believe that the inoculation capacity exists in Oakland County. It comes down to a matter of doses to be received by the county from the feds, and we'll continue to monitor this situation. February 1st starts our Black Awareness Month. I think I'm going to guide people to our Parks and Rec department. The walk that's being planned in front of City Hall is very exciting. And Madam President, if Terry Fields is on, I'd love to have her speak to what's planned in Parks and Rec. in particular the walk. That's a good outdoor event that people can do safely, and it's a good family event. So that's all I have, Madam President. If Ms. Fields is on, if she could join us, Madam President, with your consent.
Yes, that would be fine.
Madam President, this is Terry. Good evening. As Mr. Zorn mentioned, we are having it's a walk into history where we're highlighting Black leaders, including some of our own City of Southfield folks. It's positioned so that people can stay to the sidewalks and see the many faces of leadership. We're also going to do a couple virtual events. We've had the storytellers in the past, and we're working with that particular group to highlight some storytellers in a virtual setting. We're going to have an outdoor movie this year as well. And we're also going to do the coloring books and work with a group that we had last year out at Beechwoods. And if we have to do that in a drive-through setting where we put packets together so that folks can drive through and get those coloring packets, we're going to go forward with that as well. So we've got a really good lineup this year as well. Even with the pandemic, we are really putting all of our efforts with the city support to highlight Black History Month all of the month of February. And we appreciate your support in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that update.
Madam Chair, this is Mayor Cyber once again. I neglected to mention that tomorrow we're doing the city with Oakland County and Oak Park. We are offering a virtual job fair. The details for this event are on the city website. It's from 1 to 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Any number of employers will be on the program as there are jobs available. And this is an opportunity for people who are looking for work or to improve their work situation to avail themselves of these resources. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Attorney?
Madam President?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Before she goes, excuse me, Madam Attorney. I just wanted to say about the COVID piece that we really should not be too surprised that our numbers are continuing to be higher than others, because if we've been watching the news, we know that areas with high concentration of people of color are disproportionately being vaccinated. And so I think we need to make sure that message is making its way to our county executive and whomever is coordinating throughout the county, that we want the same level of treatment and distribution that anyone else has. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam Attorney?
Good evening, Madam President. I have nothing further to add at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk?
No comment this evening. Thank you.
Our Treasurer?
Yes, good evening, Madam President. As City Administrator Fred Zorn had mentioned before, the tax deadline for the winter taxes is coming up on February 16th. It's extended because of the weekend. Normally it's February 14th, and also it's a legal holiday on the 15th. So the deadline will be on the 16th. We currently offer online payments, and so people can go to taxes.cityofsouthfield.com, as well as also they can utilize the Dropbox right outside City Hall, right outside the Treasurer's office, to drop in their payments, and it's processed daily. We have staff on a rotating basis that processes those payments, as well as also mailing in the payments to our PO box, and those get processed right away as well. So we hope that if anyone has any questions, they can contact the Treasurer's Department, and also they can look up their information online. The information is available on the city website to be able to look up any tax information that they need. So, and also we are working with the Oakland County Treasurer's Department. People that are on the deferment program, hopefully will have an extension of that time period. Normally it's due by the end of February that they have to pay up, but usually Oakland County will extend that till April. So we're waiting for official confirmation of that, but that's hopefully imminent. So otherwise, that's all for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our planner, are you still on the line?
No, he said no comment this evening.
Okay, thank you. A city assessor? Okay, our city engineer? All right, we have nothing to schedule. We do have an ordinance that we should enact. Council?
Councilwoman Banks, I move that we enact ordinance number 1731 to amend title Communications, adding a new chapter 160A small cell wireless facilities to the Southfield City Code.
Support.
Okay, it's been motioned by Councilwoman Banks, supported by Councilman Cruz, for us to enact ordinance number 1731. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins,
Yes.
and Mandelbaum.
Yes.
Ordinance number 1731 has been enacted.
Okay. Next, Council, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into closed session for the discussion for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement in a closed session as requested by one of the negotiating parties, MCL 15.269. There are no other items on the agenda tonight. Does anyone have any closing comments or anything that they'd like to leave us with before we adjourn? Okay, hearing none, I declare this meeting adjourned.